So this video is going to be an introduction to a DIY series that I'm going to do for building a mini quadcopter. Now in front of me, this is actually the Blade MQX quad, and this Blade MQX is really the quadcopter that got me into this hobby. So it's a ready to fly version that I've flown many times, crashed, and now as of recently the main board has shorted out. So I thought, instead of going and, this is actually the second board that I've purchased. It was 60 bucks, so quite a bit of money to get this thing in the air. So you can see some 3D printed arms that I've done, and it's been a fun quad to fly, but I figured, hey, it's time to kind of move on to a almost a scratch build, where if I break anything, and I'd be able to easily fix it either by 3D printing a part or purchasing a part that's readily available and affordable. So in front of me I have pretty much all the parts needed to do this build. Now I am missing a power distribution board, which I'll order this week, but 4 Turnigy 10 amp plush ESCs, and then these little iPower 2300 kV motors, and then an 800 milliamp battery. This is just a guide that I had laying around, so it's a 2S LiPo, and then the multi-Wii flight controller. It's actually an extra flight controller that I had laying around after helping a friend upgrade from this board to the KK2. So I'm actually not sure, I've done a lot of looking around. This is the X-Rock version of the board, so we're going to give it a try, and if it doesn't work, we'll upgrade to something else. And last but not least, the frame, which will consist of this dowel rod from Home Depot. It's a 5/16 inch diameter pine rod, and I've designed some 3D printed motor mounts that this dowel will just slide right into. Slide it in, probably just CA glue it to hold it, and then we'll put our motors right here mounted to the top. And next I'm actually going to be designing the main plates to bring the booms together, as well as to be able to mount our flight controller and electronics. And when this build is all said and done, I'll actually post links to all of the components, as well as make the design files for the motor mounts and plates and anything else that needs to be 3D printed readily available. Those will be on Garage Pilots, and I'm hoping, like I said, we want to keep this open source, the design files available for you to download and print or tweak. And I wanted to just talk you through real quick what I did to actually get to the final motor mounts, these 4 guys right here. So started with just a square design with a cutout to basically test that, hey, can I get this dowel rod through there. And if you look, this is actually 8 millimeters in diameter, which I did on this hole, but you actually have to allow for some shrinkage when you print with the PLA plastic. So this actually came out to 8.4 millimeters in diameter on the design, and then shrunk a little bit, and you can see this thing fits nicely over the dowel. Okay, and so once I got that in place, I went ahead and created just a mounting plate, with our holes properly spaced to mount our motors on. And one thing you'll notice that I learned is that while I had everything in place, you can't get this motor flush because of the leads coming off of it. So what I did was I actually moved on to a design like this that has your mounting holes in the right place, and this plate allows you to now get your leads through and mount your motor properly. So I normally just do some basic designs that don't take a lot of plastic when I print, just to verify that the dimensions are correct, and then that's when I can actually extrude, in this case 2 millimeters thick, and then have our mounting hole there. So Now we can get our leads through, get our motor in place, and then we have our dowel rod. That'll just fit nicely in there. So let me just cut to a quick segment that shows you a time lapse of this being printed. So it took about a dozen iterations to get to this, but you know, that's one of the beauties of having a 3D printer is trial and error and prototyping. And so next up, you know, some things that I need to consider in this build is just what do I want the length of the booms to be, as well as, you know, just determining what kind of thrust we have with these 2300 kV iPower motors. And these are actually Gym Fan 5030s, so 5" by 3 pitch. And I've read that they have about 175 grams of thrust. As part of this build, I'll actually demonstrate how I'm going to measure that. But you know, with 4 of these guys, we're looking at anywhere between 600 to 800 grams of thrust. And so what I'll do now is I'll actually put all these components in a bag and just see what the weight is looking like. Okay, so I have all the mini quad goodies in a bag, and let's go ahead and put it on the scale. Okay, we have our bag in place, about 0.15 kilograms. So 0.15 kilograms puts us at about 150 grams. That, now keep in mind, that doesn't include our mounting plates, but I think we should be looking pretty good. So I'll keep you guys updated on the progress. And you know, my ultimate goal, my thought initially is once I get this Mini built and flying with the multi-wii, I'd love to put the ArduPilot board with Quadcopter firmware on there and see if I can actually build a Mini with GPS waypoint navigation and just all the features of the APM. So stay tuned, and if you have any suggestions or recommendations or ideas, please share them in the comments below. Like I said, this is going to be trial and error, but what I want to do is I really want to get this thing flying nicely and have kind of a beater quad that I can just fly around, you know, indoors and out, and just make everything easily accessible, 3D printable, and have fun with it. So in the meantime, I'll be working on the plates for mounting the electronics, and we'll post those once I have them ready. Thanks for watching.